All right, thank you. And now we're going to go on to talk about specific curriculum, and we'll have time at the end for questions. And first up, I want to introduce Ms. Manchester to talk about the math program, the Magnet Math program.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Again, my name is Sarah Manchester. I am the 8th grade Magnet Math teacher as well as the coach of the Math Counts team. All right, so I'm just going to take a few minutes and talk to you a little bit about what I think is so great about math here in the Takoma Magnet program. 4 things I want to touch on: teachers, curriculum, extracurriculars, and peer group. So let's start with the teachers. Okay. So who are we? Number 1, we are very experienced at teaching highly able students. We were doing the math right before, and we figured out between myself, Ms. Safner, and Ms. Conley, we have a combined 6 decades of experience teaching highly gifted students, and actually those 6 decades are all in this building. So we have a very long history here at Takoma. And as you can probably guess, we are very passionate about our subject. That's why we stick around here so long. We love mathematics, and we love sharing our knowledge with students that are also passionate about mathematics. We're also experts in our field. We all have degrees in mathematics. I actually just majored in math in college because I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was like, well, I love math, so I'll study it and then see what comes up. And actually had the opportunity to come and do some student teaching here at Takoma back in 1995, and I loved it so much, and a job opened up, and here I still am. I want to then talk a little bit about the math sequence here at Takoma. What is Magnet Math at Takoma Park Middle School? So 6th grade, the kids take a course called Magnet Investigations into Math, which is based on the County IM course, but like all our Magnet Math courses here, it's highly enriched and accelerated. In 7th grade, the students take Magnet Algebra, and in 8th grade, Magnet Geometry. And one of the things I love about teaching here is that we have a lot more flexibility than most math teachers in terms of the curriculum. So, you kind of know how it works, right? Every 4 years or so, MCPS says, hey, time for another math curriculum overhaul. So we get the new curriculum, we go through it, we analyze it. Hey, that looks like a really worthwhile activity. Hey, my kids would get something out of that. Wow, that looks really easy. I'm not going to do that. My kids don't need a week. They'll get that in one day. So we have a lot of flexibility to adapt the county curriculum to the needs of highly able students. So we certainly cover all the topics that are in there, but we have the ability to adapt the materials, the resources, to meet the needs of the students in the Magnet program. I'm not going to read through all the topics and all the slides, but just to give you a sense of what's covered at each level. So investigations into math in 6th grade really is laying the foundation, the groundwork for future success in the Magnet Math classes. So some of the important concepts that are covered by Ms. Conley, set theory, number theory. She does a lot of work building those algebra skills, basic algebra skills, some probability and statistics, and also a little bit of geometry. So when they come to me in 8th grade and we do a more rigorous study of geometry, they already have some good background knowledge. In 7th grade then, the students move on to Magnet Algebra with Ms. Safner. And again, everything you would expect to see in an algebra course, different types of functions, polynomials, equations and inequalities. One of the things she does that's really kind of special and unique is quite a bit of work with abstract algebra, groups and fields and stuff that most people don't see till college. And I'll tell you real quick, I went through the Magnet program here back in 84 to 86, so it's very, very long time ago. And I got to college and I had studied stuff that my other fellow undergraduates in math were like, wow, I never heard of that. I was like, well, yeah, I did that in middle school, not to brag. Ms. Safner is really a whiz with the graphing calculator, and when I say, using the graphing calculator, I feel like sometimes that can become a substitute for thinking. The kids just, kind of learn some procedures, and they punch it in, and they let the calculator do the work. But she's really good at figuring out activities where it's a tool for learning, and they're taking some of the tedium out of the process, but leaving in the analysis and the reasoning part. Finally, in 8th grade, the kids get to be in geometry, and those are, again, some of the key focuses for the class. We place a great deal of emphasis on mathematical reasoning and, no, it's not a bad word in my class, proof. Because what I find is that students in the magnet program, they all have a very good intuitive sense of geometry. You know, they kind of just sense like, yeah, that's right, that makes sense. So my class, the constant question is, why? Why? How do you know that's true? And once you've figured out why it's true, how do you present that argument in a rigorous format? You're using correct notation, accurate mathematical vocabulary. So while some geometry curriculums don't emphasize proof that much, our course continues to do that because, again, it's really a way that pushes the kids to the next level. Okay. And once again, you know, we have some flexibility, so I just listed at the bottom. I'm always fascinated by the history of mathematics. Where does the math we study come from? And also we try to use some geometry and art throughout the year. All right, so you've heard teachers, you've heard curriculum. Third great reason to come to Takoma for math is our opportunities for enrichment and extracurriculars. I say with 100% confidence, no middle school in Montgomery County, and perhaps in the country, offers the variety of mathematical problem-solving opportunities that we do here. This is a partial list of some of the different math leagues and contests that we participate in. Some of these we do during class time, like the Sigma Math League. Some of them are open to all kids to sign up for after school, American Math Contest, High School Math League, excuse me. And others are part of the Math Counts Team program. Okay. So there's a tremendous amount of enrichment and problem-solving opportunities. And if the kids are competitive, we do contests, but there's also a lot of chances for them to just push themselves, try some really difficult problems beyond what they're doing in the curriculum. Finally, the fourth and the best reason to come to Takoma Park Middle School are the students in our program themselves. Some of the characteristics that we see up there: hardworking, they're quick learners, they're curious and engaged, they learn from, they teach each other, and they love to discuss and debate mathematical ideas. I'll give you a quick example. I taught summer school a couple of years ago. You know, and I'm used to going into class and I throw out an interesting problem and I'm like, so what do you guys think? You know, what do you want to try? And I tried this approach in summer school. And, you know, and I'm used to getting like all these excited people like, oh, well, we could do that. Well, what about this? And they're all sitting there looking at me. And finally one kid raises his hand and goes, can you just tell us how to do the problem? And I was like, okay. You know, and I explained it at the board and I went through the stats and I was like, wow, that's not really how I'm used to teaching most of the time. I love to have students that have the knowledge, the background knowledge, the skills, and the enthusiasm. When you give them a challenging problem, they're not intimidated, they don't run away or say, just tell me how to do it. They really want to challenge themselves. They want to come up with multiple ways to solve it. They want to argue about the solution. So, 4 great reasons to come to Takoma for math, but the best one is our amazing math students. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Manchester. And next up to hear about magnet science is Brian Gehring.
Hello, yeah, I'm Brian Gehring. I've been here a really long time. In fact, I'm in my 30th year of teaching. Isn't that exciting? It's kind of stunning to me, actually. I didn't think I was going to make it after my first or second year. It was a really hard job, but I've grown to love it a lot. And this is a great school. I've been here off and on for about 23 years. So I came here in 1994, left for a few years, and came back in 2000-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's a great school, and hopefully tonight you'll understand why it's a great school. So I'm just going to briefly talk about the science program. These are our teachers. Ms. Epling, who's not here tonight, she will be your child's teacher when you choose to come, because this is really the only choice that you want to make. She is an outstanding, actually all of these teachers are really, really strong. Just as the math teachers, we all have strong science backgrounds. I think all of us, our first degrees are in some field of science, and then we went back and got our secondary education degrees as well. So Ms. Epling, myself, I'm the 7th grade teacher. Mr. Porch, who your children are meeting right now, is the 8th grade teacher. And they all do some amazing things after school too. Our after school program is very, really strong here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So these are the 6th grade units. I'm not going to read them all. It's very similar to the county curriculum, but what you can always imagine or depend on is that we're going to go into much more depth and rigor than what the traditional population will go into. And I'm an expert in 7th grade, so I can really talk about that a little bit more. But you get an idea. It's really environmental science with some physical science at the end to prepare them for 7th grade. And especially the first part helps them prepare for my class when they get to 7th grade. But you get an idea of some of those topics there. 7th grade, this is what I teach. So it kind of follows the school system's curriculum, but just as in math, science has some great flexibility in what we do. I can see some of the stuff that they learn at the comprehensive population takes a quarter to learn, we'll learn in a few weeks. So we start with characteristics of life, then we do some biochem and organic chem, which is just something we throw in there to really get prepared. And some of this stuff kids don't learn until like college. I didn't learn until college probably. And then we do cell anatomy and physiology, do genetics. The school system just does basic Mendelian genetics, but we go way further than that in that unit. Then we do human anatomy and physiology, and we end with forensics, and that's the highlight, I think, of the student's year. We set up a crime scene, they get to analyze all evidence, but the idea is for them to bring back all the skills they've learned during the school year to kind of culminate with a great activity. So it takes an entire quarter. The school system doesn't do that. I just add that on to the end. But it's really a highlight, and I think your students, when they get to the student panel, will find out that's a highlight of their year. So forensics is a great way to end the school year. And then these are the 8th grade science units. It's pretty much earth sciences is what they study in 8th grade. Although there is a physics unit I think we're adding this year. I'm not sure when Mr. Porcher is going to work that in, so there's actually 5 units. There's going to be a physics unit this year or next year. I can't remember which group of kids he's receiving, but they'll also do physics in that. All right. Oh, and then there's a big project. They do a CAP project. It's a capstone project. It really is a science fair. You guys remember science fair? Yeah, so the magnet students are required to do a science fair project. So they do it all 3 years. Some kids love it, some parents love it, some kids don't love it, some parents despise it. And so, but we try to encourage it. We want them to become more and more independent, and we're actually going through the process now. All the projects are being completed now, so lots of students are scrambling to get things done. And let's go to the next one. So how are we different? Why choose Takoma? I should be really choose Takoma. I think the math, Ms. Manchester's talked about all of these things. It's very rigorous. I promise that your kids, when they leave here, they'll be incredibly well prepared for high school. And I get emails from high school teachers saying, hey, we just want to say thanks for preparing these kids. We can move a lot faster. We can do other things with these kids. So we really prepare them well for high school. We use a lot of technology. I use a tremendous amount of technology in the classroom, although it's starting to pass me by. New things are coming out all the time. I just can't keep up anymore. The kids teach me a lot, but we try to do that. We use a lot of application of mathematics that they're learning in their math classes. Kids love to debate, especially magnet kids love to argue. Well, I guess kids in general love to argue, but in class we have these big debates. They love to try to get their viewpoints out. So I run a few debates in my class, and they're very formal, but they really enjoy arguing with each other. And it's another highlight. We actually debate about cloning humans is our debate. And should we clone humans or not, which is kind of fun to hear what they have to say. Again, we really push technical writing. So this is with their STEM projects, or we call them STEM projects, but they're the science fair projects. And so we try to teach them some research skills, get them really, really prepared, because when your kids decide to go to Blair High School, they will have these big research projects that they have to do. So we try to prepare them for that. We go beyond the classroom. I think Ms. Dini was saying that a little bit. So Our after-school program is probably the largest in the county. Your kids will have opportunities to do almost anything they could possibly dream of. And if they come up with something they want to do, all they have to do is ask a teacher to be their sponsor, and that teacher says, sure, that becomes a program. There's really, it's anything they want to do. The teachers here work very hard. Lots of them stay after school to be with students. So you'll see, so these are some of the things. Our STEM night is April 17th this year, I think. Yeah, it should be April 17th. We've had many Broadcom finalists. Those are kids who compete nationally at the Science Fair middle school level. We have a very strong Science Bowl team. I think we've won 13 or 12 of the past 14 years, the regional tournament. We have a STEM club. We have also this other special program. So Ms. Dean talked about our MLK Day program yesterday. So Difference Makers sponsored that event. And Difference Makers is a student-run service learning club. So kids, when they get to middle school, they have to earn SSL hours, service learning hours. Well, this club is run by students. So we had 17 different service activities going on yesterday. 15 of them are run by students, and we had over 1,500 people show up for our event yesterday. We made 2,100 toiletry packages, 2,400 sandwiches. We did so much, and these are all run by students. And that's kind of what we promote here. We really promote student leadership and getting involved in the community. And I think and then I say, choose Takoma. It is truly a special place. So I think you would make the right choice to come here. We look forward to seeing everybody, and I think now we're going to turn it over to someone else, like Scott. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gehring. Ms. Wu is our 8th grade computer science teacher. She had a family emergency, so she's not able to be here. So I'm going to try to talk about our computer science program. So our 3 teachers, Ms. Stender and Mr. Moses, you met earlier tonight, and Ms. Wu is our 8th grade teacher. Just to give you a little background on them, Ms. Stender has a background in civil engineering. She's an Air Force veteran, and she is an experienced teacher, a veteran teacher. She's taught high school for many years, but it's her first year this year with us at Takoma. But she is an experienced teacher. Mr. Moses is a mechanical engineering degree. He was working in the field in mechanical engineering, decided that he wanted to do something that was more service-oriented, and so he's giving teaching a try. He's a new teacher, but he's doing a great job. He's learning kind of on the job and really connecting with the kids this year, so that's working out really well. And Ms. Wu she comes from the IT industry. She worked for Verizon for many years. She has been a teacher here at Takoma for quite a while. She also sponsors the ACSL, American Computer Science League. You'll see a little bit about that when we talk about the specific curriculum, because she does kind of infuse those challenges into the 8th grade curriculum in the classroom. This is a little bit about their philosophy, about what they believe about kids, about the unique experience that kids bring to the classroom, and they're here to help them develop a talent. For many kids, it's a new talent. A lot of kids nowadays come with some experience with coding, which is a relatively new thing we're seeing in the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years. It used to be that kids came with no knowledge of that, but there's such a push now with coding at younger ages, and kids are really getting a jump on it. So in 6th grade, they kind of lay the foundation and try to kind of get all the kids on the same page, because they do come from a diverse background, different schools, different experiences, etc. They study, hardware concepts and sort of how computers work and how humans interact with computers. They also try to focus on the problem-solving nature of learning about computer programming. Like, what is it that we are actually doing when we program a computer to do something? We're solving a problem. We're figuring out how to make something, something that's difficult easier in a sense, right? They do start with programming in 6th grade with doing Scratch programming, which is kind of a drag and drop interface just to try to get some of the basic logic, and then they move right into Python. And that's our main language for computer programming. So they start to learn Python in 6th grade, and then we also are getting into, and that's relatively new, is the robotics thing. We have bought some equipment this year, and we're starting to figure out how to infuse some of that, the programming of different robotics. as we go. There's a lot of different products on the market there for them. In 7th grade is the big push for Python programming. That's where really they move on with learning Python pretty hardcore. We're also looking to incorporate some Arduino stuff with the robots and the computer interfaces and things like that. And that's a relatively new thing too that we're trying to incorporate as well. And then in 8th grade, they continue with Python programming. They also get into some JavaScript and web programming, and they do web design. Learn not only the basics of HTML, but also web programming with JavaScript and things like that. And there's also a final project where they design a game or a website, things like that for a final computer project. And then as well, I'll let you see the types of topics that the ACSL lets Ms. Wu incorporate into the problem solving of 8th grade computer science. Yeah, and I also want to add that the idea of learning computer programming in middle school is 3 years of computer programming instruction is a unique thing to the magnet programs. This is the only place, the only middle schools, this and Clemente, which is our up-county sister program, right, are the only places where you get 3 years of computer programming in middle school. And our kids are pretty well prepared when they go to high school. Many of them are given the option of skipping, like basic programming 1 and going into programming level 2. It depends on the schools, where they end up going, things like that. But that's about computer programming. Next up